Ross already has stamped herself as the favorite at 400 meters in London, and now trying to make the team at 200 as well.
And Tom, I got a chance to talk to her coach, Clyde Hart, and he said, you know, it's one thing to compare her to the 2009 version of herself. Obviously, she won the world championship in the 400. He said she has been looking so good this year that the only comparison he has to an athlete is Michael Johnson in 1996 when he won his double. So this is by no means a fluke what you're seeing from Sanya Richards-Ross having the world lead in this event in both this and the 400. She is having what Clyde Hart believes to be one of the most amazing seasons he has ever seen by any of his athletes.
Well, late assignments here. Sanya Richards-Ross is in lane 4. And out in lane 7, Sharonda Williams, the former All-American at Arizona State.
And she made the U.S. team that went to the World Championships in Berlin on that beautiful blue track, if you remember, track fans.
Indeed.
She's run 22:73 this year. But if you're not ready to set a personal best here, everyone, even Sanya and Allison Felix, who we'll see soon, I think your spot is in jeopardy. Everybody has to come here and perform in order to make this team, including, and there's Allison Felix awaiting her turn. It's been an emotional week for her, as you can imagine, Tom.
With all the controversy surrounding the dead heat and the 100. But the 200, she says, is my baby, Allison does. And Richards-Ross might have something to say about that.
And such a psychological edge for both Sanya Richards-Ross and Carmelita Jeter. They are already on the Olympic team in their favored event. So Sanya Richards-Ross comes in here and she says, hey, I'm already on the team in the event I prefer. I'm the world leader here. I already have cake. It's just icing. And those sleeves have almost become her trademark now.
Top 3 finishers will advance. Richards-Ross is off and flying, with Sharonda Williams also moving well. And here is the straightaway. And Williams has the lead. It is Sharonda Williams in front. Sanya Richards-Ross now comes alongside and moves past. Richards-Ross will win it. Williams into second place. As Sanya turned it on late, as you might expect from a 400-meter specialist.
And when she ran the world lead, that's pretty much how it looked. Sanya's right here in lane 4. Quarter milers, Tom, tend to not really emerge at 200 until the latter half. But even Sanya did a pretty good job of running the turn. She comes off just behind Sharonda Williams on the outside. But now when everybody else starts to decelerate, Sanya Richards-Ross just has more in the tank. She decelerates less, and that's how she's able to separate and win this opening round in 22.67. She'll be happy with this.
Richards-Ross, Sharonda Williams got second, and Natasha Hastings, who was 7th behind Richards-Ross in the 400 meters last Sunday, gets the 3rd and last automatic qualifying spot from this heat. And coming up, it'll be Allison Felix, the 3-time world champion and silver medalist at the Olympics, and involved in that dead heat for 3rd and 100 earlier here at the Olympic trials.
This was Saturday evening. You see Jeter and Madison, who will go.
And in lane 4, Shalonda Solomon, who was the 2011 U.S. champion and 4th at the World Championships last year.
I think this is her favorite track. She set a personal best here last year in winning the trials to go to the World Championships in Daegu 22:15. Not quite that fast this year, but she does run rounds very well. Former Long Beach high schooler and University of South Carolina grad. So Allison Felix, after an emotional week, back on the track.
Probably glad to be back on the track after all the other distractions. Glad to be back and running again as they are given the order to stand up.
It can be difficult though, Tom. I can tell you as somebody who did a few doubles, when you have that emotion of the 100, whether it's ended well or whether it's ended poorly, after you cry those tears and you pick yourself back up, you come out here and you're obviously glad to get back on the track, but sometimes that emotional release can take a bit out of you. So we'll watch to see what sort of a round Allison Felix has. She has improved her start mightily because of that 10.92 personal best in 2012. And what that does is that no one can pull away from her now in the first 50. And that's how she's lost the last 2 Olympic 200-meter races.
And there's the start, Allison Felix. She is in lane 6 here. That's next to the outside. And she's got a pretty good start as they come into the home straightaway. Top 3 will automatically advance. Allison Felix, Joanna Atkins on the inside, Shalonda Solomon. As they come down to the finish line, it will be eased up Allison Felix winning it with Solomon in second place. And so how do you think she looked?
Well, I can tell you that any critique of Allison Felix's 200 always begins with the start. And there she is in lane 6. And I talked about the fact that no one can pull away from her now in the beginning, and you see it here. She no longer has to come from behind from 150 out. She controls the race now. She led to 50, led to 100, and now she is at about 50% and leads these qualifiers into the next round.
And let's go down to Dwight for some live discus action. Bianca Knight in lane 3.
I'm not sure when I had that conversation with Allison at the Prefontaine Classic, she thought that Jenna Batarmo and her were going to be tied for 3rd in 2 weeks, but she was really high on her training partner. And we talked about the emotion of the week. Tarmo will be glad to get out here as well. And she is definitely someone who could qualify in this event. Very, very talented former ag.
Top 3 will move ahead, and Tarmo sprinting out of the blocks and running the turn. Bianca Knight's got away well. Coming to the top of the home straightaway. And it's Tarmo in front. Tarmo is there with Knight and Paris Daniels. They're coming to the finish line, and Tarmo has the lead. It'll be Tarmo, Knight, and Daniels, 1, 2, 3.
And just to give you a little bit of intrigue, she almost runs the same time as Allison Felix.
No, don't say that again.
Jenna Batarmo is really a good starter. And there she is in lane 5. If you didn't pay attention, you missed how good she started in the 100. She had the start of her life and one of the best starts I've ever seen. No difference here. She has a great start. She's a good turn runner. And then she has very, very good form. The hands come up to eye level. The knees stay up. And just like her friend and training partner, Allison Felix, she is very comfortably into the women's 200-meter semifinals.
Jenna Batarmo, 22.90. Bianca Knight and Paris Daniels, 1, 2, 3 to move to the semis. And as the 200s continue, coming up next, we'll see Carmelita Jeter. Lane 4, Lauren Williams had the heartbreaking 4th place finish at the last Olympic trials here in 2008. But she has a slew of medals over her career.
And we'll probably see her for the US 4x1 in London. She has lots of relay experience for the US 4x1, even though it has not always been good. Remember, she was the unfortunate person involved in that drop in Beijing. And lane 5 is being asked, L'Oreal Scott, being asked to get her hands off of the line. And I talked about Tiana Madison and her coach, Raina Ryder, who was USA Track and Field Coach of the Year. When I spoke to him, he seemed very clear. We're not worried about the 200. She could probably, Tom, make this team in the 100, 200, and long jump. Remember, she was 2005 long jump world champion. So he seemed pretty clear that they were only going to get involved in the 100. But when you start setting personal bests in that 100, sometimes you look up and you say, you know what? That 200 meters, pretty much we'd be passing on a really good Olympic shot at 200 meters. So here's Tiana Madison, the 2nd place finisher in the women's 100 on Saturday, now trying to get her second Olympic berth in the women's 200.
She'll need to be in the top 3 here to reach the semifinals. There's the start. Tiana Madison, Lauren Williams, and Madison making up the stagger on Williams as they come for the home straightaway. And into the straight, it is Ariel Scott, Tiana Madison, Lauren Williams as they come to the line. Madison wins it. Second place to Scott, and Williams in third.
And that's by far the fastest qualifying round that we've seen thus far. She's run 22.3 for the year, but that was about a month ago. I want you to watch Tiana Madison right here. As she starts to feel the fatigue, she puts a check on her form. That's what great sprinters do. Make sure you hold form when you feel the fatigue coming. And Tiana Madison runs a really good opening round. Watch those hands we talked about coming up high. That's what you want to see from great sprinters. The hands coming up high keeps the stride open, and that secures your lead. And she runs the fastest time thus far in the qualifiers, 22.57.
And there are the official results with Madison, Scott, and Williams. Let's go to Dwight. The 200-meter opening rounds, and this is the final heat of 6. And this features Carmelita Jeter, the U.S. 100-meter champion. She looked very good in winning the 100 meters last week.
And she's taken some losses this year at 200, including to the reigning Olympic champ Veronica Campbell-Brown of Jamaica. But based on her 100, I think that she has fixed whatever she was going through leading into these trials. The silver medalist at last year's World Championships, and 3-1 versus Allison Felix at 200 meters last year.
And you see Carmelita sticking the number 3 on her hips. She will be in lane 3 for this opening round heat. There are the lanes. Carmelita Jeter in lane 3 with 1 and 2 both open. Portia Lucas is also in this heat. She was NCAA champion while at Texas A&M back in 2009.
It's been a pretty good week for Texas A&M Aggies. We talked about Jennifer Tarmo and her third place tie with Allison Felix. Portia Lucas, and in case you're wondering, yes, she is named after the automaker, has run 22.65 this year. As we said, this is a difficult U.S. team to make.
And there's the gun. Top 3 automatically move ahead. Carmelita Jeter is the inside runner in this heat, and she is in lane 3 as they come to the home straightaway. Carmelita Jeter is leading it with Shalonda Goodman, Alex Anderson, but Jeter will sprint across the finish line in front. It was Alex Anderson in second and close for third in that final spot. So Jeter, Anderson, and Lucas just leads to get the final spot to move ahead to the semifinals.
So Carmelita Jeter, very comfortable. But I want you to look here at Alex Anderson in 6. She's going to have a huge flinch. I have no idea how she got away with this. Look at this flinch. I mean, that usually sets off the blocks. It didn't this time, but once they got going, it was Carmelita Jeter with that sub-11 speed. No surprise to see her make light work of these other entrants in the turn. And once she had that lead in the turn, she was able to just hold on to her form, and she too is comfortably through to the semifinal round.
So Carmelita Jeter wins her heat in 22.63 as she eases across the finish line and heads toward the semifinals. And here are the official results from this heat. Jeter the winner, with Alex Anderson second and Portia Lucas in third. So key qualifiers for the semifinal round on Friday, with Felix, Jeter, Richards, Ross heading the list. Let's go to Lewis.
John, thanks.